Welcome to AI TV. This year we're broadcasting live from AI Expo Africa 2020, the online edition. Because of COVID, we've all gone into the world of virtual conferencing, as has our media center. So we're conducting all our interviews this year via Zoom, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome Sumanth Vakada, who's the CEO of Qualetics Data Machines. And we're having this conversation. I'm in South Africa, and you're in the USA, New Jersey. So welcome, Sumanth, to the show.
Thank you, Nick. I'm glad to be here and glad to have participated in the show too. Thank you.
Well, the great thing about our show this year, and I guess one of the positives of COVID, I know there's a lot of negatives with COVID, is that the online event allows us to bring in new companies from around the world, essentially. And you're a good example of that. You guys came on board early. You had a booth at the show, and you also gave a talk, Sumanth. So thank you very much for that commitment. Tell us a little bit about your business and what you do.
So Qualetics is involved in making AI easier to achieve for technology and startup companies. Typically what happens is AI is a fascinating field for many companies, but it usually ends up becoming the last step or the last mile of a software development process. And that's where they start to realize what are all the challenges involved with AI, which actually starts from the very first step of any software platform now, which is data collection. So unless you collect data in a standard way and standardize the data for later analysis, if you try to introduce AI at a later step after the product goes out, it just becomes more challenging. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to help companies integrate our AI platform right at the very beginning of the whole process, where, at the point of data generation, so that, the platform works as expected, but then on a parallel note, the data is also getting streamed into our AI platform, getting analyzed, and the results are ready for them to consume whenever they want it, either independently or integrated with their platform.
So, I mean, obviously, a lot of people in the business world think that this is an activity that just the big companies are doing, like banks and insurance companies and retailers. But actually, this is also something that smaller companies can also achieve, and you're making that possible with your offering. Do you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. I worked in small to medium-sized companies all my life, and AI was always at the forefront. Everybody wanted to do AI. For example, I mentioned this in my talk also. I used to work for a company where we tried to build an analytics component into the platform, and it took us. Everybody was clear about the idea, but then it took us about a year and a half to implement it, and millions of dollars to finally get to a version of the product that didn't really fully achieve what we wanted to do. That's because there were so many things that that were out of reach for us at that point. In terms of the skill set, the type of people we need, or the type of platform we need, and all of those. So what we are trying to do is helping smaller companies not have to take on that kind of a burden, but still get the benefit of AI with our platform. And there's a lot of examples that we came across. We worked with a small healthcare startup in India that was doing remote health assessment using ECG machines. And AI is very important for them. AI is very relevant for it. It's not something that that's only needed for once they go big. They need it right at the very beginning of the conception of the product. And we are trying to help them to stream the healthcare data to us, and then analyze the data and give them valuable insights that is then delivered to their doctors. So I don't think size of the company matters. It's the necessity of the product of the platform that demands that AI be integrated with it.
So, I mean, the classic question you keep hearing in our industry is, so here's some data. Tell me how quickly I can get my algorithm working. I mean, I mean, you can't give a standard answer to that kind of question, but typically, how quickly can you get a customer starting from zero to essentially automating one process with artificial intelligence, for example? Have you got some sort of statistics or metrics on sort of the quickest time scale that you can get a customer from zero to hero?
Sure, absolutely. And then there's actually two questions there. I would like to answer both. So the first question is, typically the assumption is that here's a data, and then do your analysis and give it back to us, right? So that kind of analysis typically is historic analysis when you have when you have data in a cold storage. So you can do some analysis and then come back with historical insights. But I think that has become easier over time. But what's more challenging is that data is very dynamic now. You're collecting newer and newer and more data points on a daily basis. So your data structure is getting more dynamic and more fluid. So you technically need to react in real time to all of that data. So what our platform does is we provide that mechanism for companies to be able to stream data in real time, so that we can do both the real time analysis as well as as we collect more data, we can do the historic analysis as well. And to your second question about how fast we can do it, it really depends on the scale of the project. But then we have gone from like a couple of weeks to 4 to 6 weeks of implementation for companies of different size. A retail analytics company of us, they were involved in collecting hundreds of millions of data points per day. They wanted a similar platform for them, and we were able to deploy that for 6 weeks. From nothing to an MVP that they could use.
Yeah, I mean, I think before we started this conversation, I came from that systems tooling background where you had tools to do various different things. Now typically you were working with clients. It took them literally many months, if not years, to deploy those technologies and mature it over time. So to achieve for a customer, sort of 6 weeks from initial contact to getting something initially to work, maybe it's in beta, that's quite an achievement with your platform. What are the top 3 recommendations that you offer to a business user who's maybe embarking on this journey for the first time? They've got a lot of data. They perhaps haven't really, they're thinking about getting into the AI world, but they haven't really made that commitment yet. What are the top 3 things that you would recommend to the CEO of a mid-sized company before they embark on this journey?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would say that this is something that I keep talking about constantly, is to have the data strategy. The 3 things are having a data strategy, an intelligence strategy, and also a people-focused outcome. These are the 3 things that the companies have to have in mind when they start on any kind of software development journey. Obviously, not all companies are starting projects, but no matter wherever you are, we all most of us have moved to an agile software development process where we are introducing new features all the time. It's never too late to start, but whenever you're starting a software project, having a clear picture of what type of data you are trying to collect, what type of intelligence outcomes you want to achieve, and then who are the prime beneficiaries of that intelligence outcomes is also important, because most of the times AI has been delegated to the R&D sector of the whole software development process, where every AI project is taken up as a pilot project, and then the idea of implementing it in real time is delayed or postponed. That is something that is one of the biggest mistakes that companies are doing. So instead of thinking of it as a pilot project or an R&D project, think of it as a production go live project right from day one. And that is when you'll realize, you'll start to realize what are the challenges, and you'll start, preparing for them or even addressing them right from day one. If you put off the idea of going live with an AI project after the pilot is successful, then you just, delaying the inevitable. That's it.
Now, finally, Sumanth, just to sort of wrap things up, I mean, in terms of accessing your platform, in terms of, someone wanting to start a pilot project, can they access your platform for free for a period of time? How does your engagement work with your customers?
Typically, there are 3 components of the platform. One is we have to set up the data streaming integration, and then we have to set up the analytical process that that match whatever data they're streaming, and then we deploy a visualization or a result platform where the insights are being delivered. So these are the 3 things that need to happen. And we have worked, as far as commercials go, we have worked with different engagements with different clients based on their size and their business. So that is definitely possible. But given the size where we are at, we do have a handheld process of initial integration and deployment for every client that we work with.
So where can people find more information, Sumanth, about your company? What's your web address?
They can go to www.qualetics.com. It's spelled Qualetics.com.
Brilliant. Well, look, Sumanth, many thanks for joining us from the USA. It's great that we've proven that online can be a much more diverse and inclusive platform for companies outside of the Africa region who might be wanting to find clients here in the Africa region. I think you've tapped into a very interesting segment where mid-sized companies and smaller companies who are wanting to embark on this journey can do so more cost effectively and in a much shorter time than they probably realize. So thank you again for your support at AI Expo Africa 2020 online, and also thank you for your time today and joining us here on AI TV.
Thank you. Before you let me go, I would like to say a few words of thanks. It's been a great opportunity and pleasure for us to participate in AI Expo Africa. And this is our first virtual event. I mean, going into the virtual event, we were a little bit apprehensive on how everything would work. But after participating in it, I mean, it couldn't have been better. So, you know,
right.
we all had a great time. We engaged with a lot of people. I had a great time with the speaking engagement, and we interact with a lot of different people, and all of this while doing our day job. So this was perfect for us.
Well, that's great. Look, it was the first time for us as well. So we've all been in this together this year, finding our way. But it's all about making a commitment. And again, you know, just to say thank you, Sumanth, to you and your team. And for showcasing a great product and also giving a very insightful talk. Thanks for joining us on AI TV.
Thank you. Bye.